Good morning friends, welcome back to Parnika tutorials. In this video, I want to discuss about primary key and foreign key in detail with you. So I sincerely request everyone to watch the complete video for better understanding. First let me discuss about primary key, then I will discuss about foreign key. The primary key is a column or set of columns that uniquely identifies each row in the table. The primary key is a column or set of columns that uniquely identifies each row in the table. Using the primary key, you can able to uniquely identify a row or a tuple in the table. A table can have only one primary key. Never a table should consist of more than one primary key. Only one primary key is allowed, which is made up of one or more columns. A table can have only one primary key. Multiple primary keys are not allowed, which can be made up of one or more columns. The primary key must contain unique values and should not allow null values. So a primary key will never allow the duplicate values and null values to it. The primary key must contain unique values, meaning is that it does not allow the duplicate values, should not consist of null value, or null. Now let me discuss how can you create a table with one attribute as a primary key at the column level. Similarly, we will discuss how can you create a table with primary key constraint at the table level. So first I will discuss with respect to the column level. Create table name, and then I will write column 1 data type, and then I will write constraint name. Type of the constraint is primary key. So now what I have done is that column 1 is made as primary key. Then I can have column 2 data type, column 3 data type. So this is the way you are creating a table and one of the attribute as a primary key. So this one we will say that column level constraint. Now we will discuss how can we make it at table level. So I will write create table name, column 1 data type, comma column 2 data type, comma column 3 data type. Then I can write comma constraint name. That is optional. You can give the constraint name, which is an optional one. Okay, constraint name. Type of the constraint is primary key. On which attribute or column you want to mention, you can write here column 1. If you write multiple columns combinedly acting as a primary key. Now we will discuss these things practically in the Oracle SQL Plus. What I will do is that I will create a table called sample4. Then I will write ID number 20. So ID is the name of the attribute, and then data type is number of size 20. Then I am making it as a primary key. So constraint name as I will make it as C1 underscore PK. Then I will write type of the constraint is primary key. Then let me write comma. Then I will write name varchar2 of size 20. Now you can see the table has been created. Now if you look at the description of the table called sample4, let me end with semicolon. Now you can see there are two attributes are there. One is ID and name. Now ID is a primary key, so it will not allow the duplicate values and null values. If you want to insert the values into the table, you can use the insert statement. So insert into sample4. Okay, I can write values, and then I will give the 1 and then Jagadish. Let me again write insert into sample4 values. I will give 2 Parnika. one more row is created. If I am again inserting one more row with, let's take that id as 2, will it allow? It should not allow, because id is a primary key. Primary key is a combination of unique constraint plus not null constraint. A unique constraint means it does not allow the duplicate values, but however you are trying to insert the to id multiple times, so that will not be allowed. See, look at here, what is the error message you are getting? Unique constraint violated. Similarly, I want to try to insert the null value to the id. Will it allow or not? We can see. So what I will try to do is that I will try to give only value to the variable called attribute called name. Then it also should not allow, because if you are giving only value to the attribute called name, then for the attribute id null value will be assigned. That is not allowed in the primary key constraint. So insert null into sample4 table id attribute is not allowed, because primary key will not allow the null values and duplicate values. Similarly, what I will do, I will create one more table called sample5. This time I will keep the primary key constraint at table level. So I will write create table, table name is sample5. I will give eid number of size 30. Then I will give ename employee name, and I will give varchar2 20. Then I will give salary, which is employee salary, which is a number 20 comma 2 comma, and I will write constraint t1 underscore pk, which is a constraint name, and the type of the constraint I need to mention it as a primary key, and I want to make the employee id as the primary key. Now the table has been successfully created. If you look at the description of the table sample5, you can see totally we have 3 attributes called employee id, employee name, employee salary, and their respective data types as number, varchar2 number. And you can see employee id does not allow the null values and duplicate values. If you want to insert the values into the table called sample5, then how can you do? Insert into sample5 values. I can write employee id 1, okay, employee name is abc, salary 10,000. Similarly, I will write insert into sample5 values. I will give 2 kgf name, okay, 20,000, end with semicolon. This is allowed. But if I am trying to insert the duplicate values to the employee id, that is not allowed. If you want to verify, I will give 2 again. This time I will give cdf, and then salary I will give 30,000. That is not allowed, because you are violating the unique constraint. Similarly, if I want to insert the null values to the employee id, that is also not allowed. If you try to do it, name comma, okay, I should write ename comma salary, then I'm giving the values. Let's take the 3 and then 40,000. Then meaning is that for the employee id you are assigning the null value. That is not allowed. Look at here, you are getting table, spelling mistake we have done. Okay, I can press ed, then here I can modify sample5. Let me save it and close this one, give the backslash and press enter. We are getting an error. What is the error? Cannot insert null into table called sample5 into the attribute called employee id. Okay, so this is the way you can make one column or one or more columns combinedly as a primary key while creating the table. Now after creating the table, I want to make one attribute as the primary key. Then I can use the alter statement. Using the alter statement, we can do it. So what is the syntax? I have to write alter table table name, then I can write modify. So one of the existing column I want to make it as a primary key. So then what I will do, modify column name and then data type, and then I will write constraint name. Then I will mention here primary key end with semicolon. So this is the way you are making the one of the existing column as the primary key using the alter statement. Now I want to add one column to the existing table, and then I want to make that as a primary key. Then how can I do? I can write alter table name, then I can write add column name, then I can write constraint name, then I can make it as primary key end with semicolon. So now we will discuss these things practically in SQL plus. I will create a table called sample6. I will write create table name as sample6. I will have only two attributes. One is ID, which is a number of size, let's take it 30. Then I'm making name, which is varchar2 of size 20. Now there is no primary key. Now using the alter statement, I want to make this ID as a primary key. Then what I will write? I will write alter table name is what? Sample6, and then I have to write modify. Then which column you want to make? ID. So you have to write the column name, and its data type is number 30 of size 30. Then I will write here constraint name as m_pk. Then I will write here primary key and with semicolon. Now table has been altered. If you want to look at, you can look at the description of the table called sample6. Now you can see ID has been made as primary key. If you want to insert the values and if you want to verify, you can do it. It will not allow the duplicate values. For the attribute called ID, duplicate values are not allowed and null values are also not allowed. I want to add one more column and also make that also as a primary key. Will it allow? It will not allow. Why? Because for a table you can have only one primary key which is made up of one or more columns. Okay, we will try that one. So I'll write alter table name is what? Sample6. I will write add EID, and then data type is number of size 20. Let me make it ID some 20. Then I will write some constraint. Okay, s_pk, secondary primary key I'm doing. Okay, s_pk. Then I will write primary key. Now look at here, what is the issue? Table can have only one primary key. I will create one more table called sample7, and then I will add a new column and make it as a primary key. EID number of size 20, then name varchar2 of size 30. And now this time what I will do, I will make the A's as the primary key. So I will use alter table name is what? Sample7. Then I will write add column name is what I want to write? A's. And then data type for the A's is number of size 20. Then I am writing constraint. Okay, a_pk primary key, primary space key. Let me end with semicolon. Now table has been altered. If you want to look at the description of the sample7, now A's is a primary key. So A's will not allow the duplicate values and null values. So each person should have a different A's. So this is the way, using the alter statement, alter the structure of the table and make one of the attribute as a primary key. I hope you have understood about the primary key. Now we will discuss about the foreign key in detail. The foreign key is a column or set of columns that is used to link two tables together. Suppose let's say that you have two tables. You want to extract the data from two tables. So using the join statements you can club the two tables. But if you want to have a relationship between the two tables, then we will use the foreign key. The foreign key is a column or set of columns that is used to link two tables together. Now one table should have the primary key, another table should have the foreign key. The foreign key of one table helps to connect with the primary key of another table. Both the tables should have one common column, but the name can be same or different. Okay, there should be a one common column, but the name of this column should be either same or different, but the data type of these two columns should be same. Table which has the primary key, we will call it as a parent table. The table which has the foreign key will act as a child table. We will create two tables. One table will have the primary key and another one we will make a foreign key. I will first create the parent table. So I will write create table. Table name as I will make it as parent. Then I will have employee ID number 10. I will write only primary key because already I told you that constraint and constraint name are optional. Then I will write employee name and data type is varchar true. So now this table has the primary key, so I can say this as a parent table. Now if you want to insert the values, you can do it. Now I want to create the child table, so I will write create table, table name as child. Then here I will write salary, a number of size 10. Then I will make employee ID, data type is number and size is 20. Now I will write reference. We will use the reference keyword to make the foreign key. Okay, so I'm referring from the parent table employee ID. So employee ID from the parent table is a primary key. That one you are making it as a foreign key in the child table. So here the child table employee ID is acting as a foreign key which is referring to the parent key with the primary key as employee ID. Here employee ID can be same, means the name of this column can be same or can be different. Already I told you, but the data type should be same. Okay, I will practically discuss this one in SQL++. So I will write create table, table name is parent. I will write employee ID, data type is number of size 10. Then I will write, make it as a primary key. Okay, then employee name, or I will write e name varchar 2 of size 20. Now you can see table has been created. If you want to look at the description of the parent table, you can look at here. We have totally two attributes. One is employee ID, employee name, and employee ID is a primary key. So it does not allow the duplicate values and null values. If you want to look at, you can look at here. Insert into parent table, and then I will write e name values. I will try to give the employee name, best employee I will give. Okay, I will simply write best. Okay, is it allowed? It is not allowed, because if you are writing the insert statement like this, employee ID you are assigning the null value, that is not allowed. Cannot insert null value into the employee ID. If I am trying to insert the duplicate values, that is also not allowed. I will write parent values 1. I will give the employee ID as 1 and the name as A. Okay, what is the missing select keyword, insert into. Okay, let me write insert into table name is parent, values, the value spelling was earlier mistake, okay, values, then 1 a. Now the row has been created. Now again I will insert values 2 and then b, insert into parent values, then this time I will give 3 and then c. If you look at the values which is there in the table called parent, then you can see we have employee ID and employee name. Employee ID having the values called 1, 2, 3. Employee name is ABC. Now if I am trying to insert duplicate values into the employee ID, that is not allowed. 3, I will write D. Okay, then look at here what will happen. Unique constraint has been violated. Okay, so parent table having two attributes, one is employee ID and employee name. Employee ID is acting as a primary key. Now what I will do, I will create the child table. I will write create table, table name I will write it as child, then I will write salary and I will write number of size 20, and then I will give employee ID, or simply I will give ID. The common attribute data type should be same, the name can be same or different. So intentionally I am making it as ID, and then I will give the data type is number of size 10. Then I will use the references, which table you are referring, parent table, and which attribute EID. Let me end with semicolon. Now you can see table has been successfully created. If you look at the description of the table called child, okay, you have the salary and ID. Now here ID is a foreign key. If you try to insert, remember one important point here, referential integrity will come into the picture. Whatever the values employee ID is there, those values are only allowed. I want the student studying in a particular department, am I right? Now in a college, let's take that there are only 3 departments are there, CSC, mechanical, ECE. Now a student who is studying in this college, can he study in civil department? No, because that college is having only 3 departments. So here the foreign key can have the values which are there in the primary key only. The values which are not there in the primary key cannot be there in the foreign key, because for those employees only you are mentioning the salaries. If a particular person is not as an employee, how he can have some salary? That is not possible. I will write insert into child values. I will give salary as 10,000, for which I employee 1. Okay, similarly I will try to insert salary for the employee ID 2, so I will give 20,000 and 2. Then again I will insert into child values and I will mention here 30,000 and I will make it as 3, that is allowed. Now if I write insert into child values 40,000 to the 4, is it allowed? It should not be allowed, because there is no employee with ID as 4. If it is not there, how its salary can be there? See, look at here, integrity constraint, primary key not found, so integrity constraint violated. I hope you have understood the foreign key concept also. If you still have any doubts related to the primary key and foreign key, you can ask me those doubts in the comment section. I will try to clear your doubts as early as possible. Thank you for watching the complete video. Have a nice day.